Hey, what's up, Hilo News family? This show is brought to you by Baptist Health's Pine App. Healthcare at your fingertips with the Pine App. Head to HiloNewsMiami.com right now to learn more about their app and all the new features created to improve your healthcare experience with Baptist Health. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, Hilo News family? I'm so glad that you guys are joining us for another episode of Can We Talk, where we talk to dope people in the community doing dope things. And today is no different. I'm so excited, as always, to have my very special guest who's joining the show today. He's doing a lot of great things in the community around mental health and teen awareness. And I want you guys to learn all about it. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Mr. Ruban Roberts. Hey.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, Janae. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And look, we Chiefs, so I'm like,
that's right.
Who else can I wear this shirt with?
The Chiefs are in the house.
Pride. So
yeah.
I wear the shirt. I hope you appreciate this Chief pride.
I do. This is definitely setting the tone for the interview right there. That made my day.
Hey, we aim to please. Definitely when there's a chief in the building, we got to definitely represent. Ruban, we're talking about Carroll City and where we're from. So tell me a little bit, if people don't know who you are, if they haven't seen our past interviews, let them know a little bit about who you are and your background.
All right. I was born in the Bahamas, raised between here and the Bahamas, grew up in basically Carroll City in my teenage years. Went to Carroll City Senior High, graduated, played football for Walt Frazier. Went on to college and did some work at the University of Miami for over 20 years. I retired from the University of Miami, started my own company, RER Consulting. And RER is where I'm at now. We have two signature programs. One is called Teen Talk, and the other is the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program.
Nice. And, I wanted to talk to you about your programs, and so people could learn more about them. You've been doing this work with mental health, especially during the pandemic. You've done a lot of work, grassroots work. Why was that important to you? And tell me more about the My Mental Health Miami program, and let us know why that work is so important to you.
So I am a family therapist by profession. But prior to that, I am the immediate past president at NAACP as well. I grew up in a family where we did a lot of community work, a lot of community service. My father in the Bahamas was a very prominent figure in terms of helping the Bahamas gain its independence. My mother has always been involved with the NAACP. She's an educator, always doing community work and advocacy. So it's just a natural progression for me to do the same thing, right? My mother's American, by the way. So this is just following my path, my life's journey, doing this work and giving back, being a part of organizations that give back and contribute, and also for me to advocate for those the voiceless, of those who seem to be really having some challenging times. So how did the COVID-19 Mental Health and Wellness Program started? A friend of mine and I were talking about, the COVID during 2020 when it was happening around March or what have you. And we noticed that, most of the governments, most of the entities were really focusing on making sure people were fed, making sure people had housing security, food security, and that sort of thing. But no one was really initially thinking about the effect that this has on mental health. Now, as a Black woman, there are reports that say, the stress levels for Black women, like 100 times higher than, those of the women of different ethnicities or majorities, because of all of the pressure that you have. And you think about that, if you got kids at home you have to feed, and you don't know when the next meal is going to come, you don't know because you're not bringing in any income, because we had to be at home. And, you have all of this insecurity. So you can imagine the stress, the anxiety, depressions, and that sort of thing that may come on folks who are dealing with that, not just women, but family members and kids as well. being in home with family when you're used to everybody being out. It's that pressure of being at home. Ray, you need to go on in the room because I'm not
Exactly.
trying to do it. So we put a proposal together and it got funded. And then we decided to do the work in the community. And our program basically is it's a mental health assessment where we assess the levels of stress, depression, anxiety, and levels of support related to COVID. And what happens is a lot of folks don't even think that the stress levels and all of that they're dealing with has any tie to COVID because some of them were dealing with all of these things prior to COVID. But what COVID has done is it exacerbated the issues. So once you take the survey, and this is something different than most surveys, and you can go to mymentalhealthmiami.com and click on the survey up in the right hand corner. I encourage all of you to take the survey. The thing that about this survey is you receive a scorecard. Your scorecard will tell you where you fall. And once you take that survey and you receive your scorecard, unlike other surveys, they don't give you anything back. Now you can do something about it. If you see that your levels of stress are high, level of anxieties are high, depression or whatever, you can do something about it because we have a care coordination team that we want you to connect with to make sure that you can get those services. And so one of the things I want to share with you, and you'll get that information on our website, mymentalhealthmiami.com. One of the things I want to share with you is that we live under such high degree of stress, anxiety, and depression that we normalize it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we normalize it, it's just like anything else. When that stress and that depression builds and builds and builds, and you don't do anything to really address it, what's going to happen is eventually there's going to be an explosion. And we see these explosions with the anger that we see with kids and adults, the shootings, the fights. We see it, all of these other reactions coming out as a result of folks dealing with unresolved issues. And so we feel like it's very important that we connect people to the proper services so that they can get the proper treatment and then, do something about where they are.
Mm. Now, are these services, are they free of charge? Are they discounted? Tell me a little bit more about the services that you could get through this program.
Sure. Can I stop for 1 minute?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I got to give you a number.
Okay.
And I got to get that number from you. Hold on. So I want you to back it up a little bit. Let me give this number because I didn't give it earlier. And then you can ask me that question again. All right. Ready?
Okay.
So once you receive your scorecard, you can call our care coordination team, which is powered by New Horizons, um, a minority mental health company, and that number is 786 433 8487. Our program is culturally and linguistically competent. And what I mean by that, a lot of times folks are seeking services from people and they don't understand, those professionals don't understand your culture. And if they don't understand your culture, they're not going to be able to really give you the type of services that you need. And that's why we hooked up with New Horizons. They'll do a brief assessment and then refer you to the services that you need. And this all happens on the sliding scale fee. So depending on your income, some people may be able to receive the services for free. And some people make a little bit more, they have to pay a little bit towards it. But we try to make sure that all of our referral sources are done on that sliding scale fee so that they can get those services. But again, you can contact New Horizons at 786 433 8487. This is all under the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program. And you can go to the website at mymentalhealthmiami.com. Click on the right button up top where it says survey, take the survey, get your scorecard, and make sure you address some of the issues that you have.
Got it. That's what's up. You guys make sure you're taking advantage of that because mental health can be expensive. So there's a program out there that's giving you free or discounted services. Definitely take advantage of it. Ruben, what I wanted you to talk about a little bit as well, because I see something interesting that you're doing, and I actually like that you have a more of a niche inside of the work that you're doing overall with mental health, especially in the Black community. But you've been focusing on Black men's mental health.
Mm.
Tell me some of the programs that you're doing around that, and why that was also a focus for you outside of like just the Black community, because that's a whole thing within itself. But you're taking it a step further and saying, let's pay attention to the Black men in our community. Why was that important for you to make sure you focused on that?
Because oftentimes Black men suffer in silence, and we're trained to just man up and deal with whatever, you know. And sometimes when we're manning up and dealing with it, we're not dealing with it. It's not being dealt with. Women have, I think, and I'm not trying to categorize everything, but I think women are. It's easier for women to communicate with their peers, their friends.
That's
They
true.
can talk to each other about each other's problems. I mean, we don't do that. I mean, we talk about everything else. We talk about sports. We talk about cars. We talk about our relationships, whatever the case may be. But whatever is going on with us, we try to keep this stiff exterior that everything is cool, even when it's not. And so one of the things that we've done is we work with the Circle of Brotherhood. I had a session with a couple of brothers, and we talked about these things about, hey, listen, we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. And the key is that, again, like I said, if you don't take care of yourself, what ends up happening is that that pressure builds up and you explode. Even in the case of in relationships, you have a guy that has dealing with some issues. He may have a very supportive significant other, but he doesn't reveal, all of the things that's really going on in his mind or what in his world. And she wants to support him, but he just feels that he's been conditioned to say, well, no, I got this. I'm going to handle it on my own. And you have support. You have a support system there, but you don't utilize that support system. So we talk about that. How do you de-stress? What are the things that you do to de-stress? How do you take a self-assessment and look at what's going on? And how do you really utilize those people there who have your best interest at heart? And a lot of times the people that have our best interests at heart is laying right next to us, sitting right next to us. And we just need to make sure that we take advantage of that.
I love that. And sometimes I feel like within the narratives of the Black community, like, and this is not trying to be like a pick me or like seem like I'm just trying to be biased, but I feel like sometimes the Black men get lost in that conversation. And I feel like we need to start focusing back in on Black men as well as, Black women. Everybody needs support, but I feel like we kind of forgotten that. And so when I saw your programs, you were doing the weekly talks, I saw you did some events and it was just specifically towards Black men. You did something around Father's Day. I thought that was really cool because sometimes I feel like Black men feel like they're forgotten. And I like that your program is saying, hey, specifically, we want to make sure that that we understand your experience and what you're going through, and we're here to help. So, what has been the response from the community, especially from Black men who have taken advantage of some of these programs? What have been their responses to this?
It's I get the comments like this is long overdue. It's much needed. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to have a voice, be heard and understood, and in general in the Black community, that's what we're dealing with. We oftentimes feel that we're not heard, understood, or respected. In any profession, any walk of life we've lived. If you look at the history, uh, and that's the first thing I really want to say. Let me say this, not just about Black men, but just Black folks in general. Listen, we are less than um, 50 years from having our right to vote, for
Mm,
being considered full citizens of this country, although we've been brought over here since 1419. So you have to understand the trauma that we face as a people still lives with us today. Even when you think about it, if you are a Black person in this country, no matter where you're from, if you're from an island, wherever you are from, you're a product of the slave trade. You may
mm-hmm.
have come in from different places, or whether your families may have come in from different places. So you've always been treated in a marginalized way, although your family may have given considerably to this country. Black people build this country, okay? Free
Yeah.
labor. Yeah, America would not be what it is today without the free labor. And so when you look at, the second class treatment, how you get treated from different systems, how we have to deal with these microaggressions every day, that's something that weighs in on you. You go into another community, and little kids see the police officers, and they see someone who's there to support them and help them. That black kid, and he doesn't have to be taught this by his parents. At an early age, they recognize that they're different and they're treated differently. So they look at systems that's supposed to be supportive in a different way. And sometimes these kids are so angry and they don't know how to process it. So they act out. And this is how they get labeled in schools. And this is how, they labeled as aggressive and angry black man, angry black woman, eventually when you grow older. And, rightfully so. I mean, if you look at our history, I mean, there's a lot to be angry about, right? So what we have to do is really find a way to find a place to center ourselves, be more intentional about what we do, and redirect our focus, and not let those negativities or the things that have happened to us in the past, or our ancestors in the past, really have a negative impact on us today. We really need to make sure that we move in a different direction. Not saying to forget, never forget. What I'm saying to you is rechannel that energy in a way that can be more productive for you. So yes, when we look at black men, when you look at black boys, and you see that there's a lot of anger and aggression, where, immediately it goes for, hey, you know how we said in school, you try me, don't, you try me. And then if you get tried, you already know what the end result of that is going to be. Automatically, we go into defense mode. Automatically, it gets into an aggressive state. And now it's so severe that they're not even doing the fisticuffs anymore. It's shooting and
Yeah.
that's so we're really destroying ourselves. And all of that has its origin in that slave trade. I call it post-traumatic slave disorder, not post-traumatic stress disorder. As
I like that. You better
PTSD.
trademark that, but that's real.
So that's where it is, and it's a reality. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address it. But when you're taking books out of school that tells the real history about what happened to African American people in this country, when you don't want to acknowledge the fact that slavery was a bad thing, a horrible thing, and that America was built on the backs of slavery, that sort of thing. That is a problem. You can't deny history. You can't deny the experiences that we have with, in cases of police brutality and just senseless loss of life from all people. We need to make sure that we acknowledge what our experiences were historically, that we understand our power and our worth, and that we redirect our energy in a way to where we're not hurting or harming each other, but we're focusing on building our community, building each other up as much as possible. To me, that's very important. And that's where all of those things have an impact on your mental health. For those parents who are out there dealing with kids and you see that they're just so aggressive, they're so angry. And these kids have seen things, sometimes in the home, sometimes in their community, and they have never dealt with it or processed it. And so, as those things continue to build up and they have all of these feelings and emotions, it comes out in very unpredictable ways, sometimes very predictable ways. Sometimes it can be predictable.
Yeah.
And also, so we need to really address those issues. So it starts with the parents. Our program is for 18 years and older, but it starts with the parents learning their score, understanding that when you're stressed out, your kids see it. It has an impact on your youth. It has an impact on your family. And if you're not doing anything about it, you can rest assured it's going to pass down to your kids, and they're going to be having problems in school, in terms of their emotional way that they handle emotions and the way they behave in school. So we need to make sure that we address these issues from a mental health perspective.
No, and that's very important. And I'm glad that you brought up students, because another one of your programs, Teen Talks, is basically, not basically, is focused on students. And so tell me more about that program. Is that based in mental health, or is that program has a different focus?
All of the work I do has mental health overlay in it, if you will. So Teen Talks came about as a result of, I started that about 11 years ago,
Oh, wow.
uh, when, there was just so much police shootings, police violence towards Black people. And, and I said to her, okay, we can talk about the problem, but what are the solutions to this problem? I know that all officers aren't bad. I have police officers in my family. I know police officers from different backgrounds that don't treat Black people poorly. But you have a portion of the police department that really, when they see us, it's like we're their battering ram. You know what I mean? When you see images of, if you remember a couple of years back when the police were going to the target practice, they took mugshots of Black young men and use them as their targets. When you see what's happening to George Floyd, when you see what's happening to all of these folks who had experienced brutality, someone's knee is on your neck and the life is slipping away from you. When the man calls for his mama, when a Black man calls for his mama,
It's serious.
that is serious.
Yeah.
And you just you think that you have that much power and authority where you can do anything and not suffer any repercussions because of it. I'm glad that things are changing as far as that, people being now prosecuted and held accountable for their misdeeds and misgivings. So one of the things I said, okay, let's find a way that we can bring these two communities together. And let's start with the youth. Let's start with these youth in high crime inner city areas, and let's get a chance for them to have a dialogue. And what happens in that dialogue is, these youth, they come correct. They come with the real hardcore questions, and the officers can respond to them. So what it does is it gives both audiences a different perspective of each other. So that officer now can hear and understand that youth from that youth's perspective, and the youth can also hear and understand the officer from their perspective. They can understand that, what are the requirements of this officer's job, and when those officers are overreaching, what they should do, how they should handle the situation, and what have you. But I think at the end, not only do we have the Teen Talks, but we do community events together. And so once they are in a situation where it's not based on a call, like a police is called and they're coming out to address an issue, but they're actually being social together and they see the humanity in each other. I think that that's what makes the difference. Those officers need to see the humanities in the humanity in these youth, inner city youth, minority youth, and these youth need to see the humanity in those officers. And they both understand that there's good and bad in every profession. And so you're not going to have 100% of the officers that are going to be, on board or doing the right thing. But you know that you can't just lump everybody in the same category. You're not going to have 100% of the kids that's doing the right thing. But you can't just lump all of the kids in that negative category because they come from a certain community. And that's some of the things that we address, and then we do activities and that sort of thing together. And as a result of that, those relationships are formed and they have a different perspective of each other.
What are some of the questions that the students are asking the police? What are some things that you can share with us, or like just overall?
So one of the questions start with the question I asked. I asked first in every one of my sessions, I start off with the introduction, my icebreakers, and then one of my very first questions is, how many of y'all trust the police? Very few hands go up, if any.
And so you asked this in front of the police?
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
It's real, raw, unfiltered, authentic, honest conversations. I love that. You need to have
that's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And so the hands don't come up. And I prepare the police before that. I say, look, I'm gonna ask these questions. And I'm telling you right now, If you're not happy with the responses, you can't, turn south on this. You have to understand this is where the dialogue comes in so that you can have a better understanding. And invariably, what happens is at the end of the session, I'll ask that question again, and more hands will come up, or hands will come up if they didn't come up before.
Mm.
But these kids have that image. The officers have their image of these kids who come from certain communities, and by the time they get a chance to talk to each other and really get a basic understanding of each other, they realize that they're similar. They have similar backgrounds. They may even know some of the family members and that sort of thing. And so now you see this person as a human being. And hopefully, if you see them as a human being, you'll treat them as a human being. So that's what happens. But we have to have those hard conversations. We have to ask those hard-hitting questions. So to answer your first question about the youth, they'll ask questions like, have you ever shot somebody before? They'll ask, why do you all always killing Black people? They'll ask, questions like that. These are some of the harder questions they ask. They ask, a wide range of questions, but they'll ask those questions, and they'll say things like, about profiling. They'll ask questions about that. Why do you bother us if we have our hoodies on, and that sort of thing? And and those interactions really bring about great discussions that give both parties good information for them to have.
You know what? And that's very important because, like you said, sometimes um, things can be, improved with a conversation and seeing people as human. That's often the result of a healthy conversation. So I'm so
Yeah,
glad that you're facilitating that for the youth. Because I know myself personally, my interactions with police as a kid, I'm not a criminal, but they weren't positive, and I
right.
lost trust in them very early on. And a lot of times, it could be from viewing how they treated a family member. Like the police kicked our door in when I was young. I'm not gonna give all our tea away, but
Right, right.
from that point on, I was like, they they pointed a gun at me. I was 8 years old, 9 years old. I was like, I'm a kid. You didn't even see me as a kid. I'm just a criminal's child. And so a lot of times, kids have that interaction with them. It could be based off of a family member's criminal activity, but you're like, this is somebody I love, or this is somebody I care about. You treated them this way, or you treated me a certain way because you're trying to get to them. And I'm glad that you're opening up this dialogue for kids to be able to have, honest conversations with the police in a safe space. I think that's the thing,
Right,
because sometimes
right.
you'll have these, I've seen people like just run up on a cop, doing patrol and just start throwing questions or insults at them or whatever. And that's not the place for that. So I'm glad
Right.
that you facilitated this safe space. Now, if I have a child who I want to be a part of this, like, how do I go about putting my teenager in your program?
So this is a program that's done with already cohorts of students who are participating in some sort of community-based organization, church, or group, or that sort of thing. So they can reach us through our website and at RER consulting-consulting.com, and they can find out ways that they just do the info page, and they can if you have a group of students, I prefer to be at least 13 years old and older, that we can work with. We'll work with them, and we'll find a municipality that's in your area, and we'll partner with them, and we'll do the team talk sessions with them. Want to have at least anywhere from 15 to 20 students, no more than that, and we'll do the work with them. But it's for organizations and such. The difficulty is trying to get, if I would love to be able to do it with kids who are coming from all over. But as you know, in our communities, kids have beef with people from different communities.
Yeah.
And, it can be problematic. So if they're already in the same program, they've already been working together, and that sort of thing, is an easier transition as far as that's concerned. So now I want to say something else. You asked, was this teen program dealing with mental health issues too? You just described what I think the majority of kids in our program that's dealt with some sort of negative interaction with the police. And you talked about a gun being drawn on you as an 8-year-old. Do you understand the traumatic impact that is? Trauma, again, has a huge effect on your mental health. But it happens so frequently in our community, right? To where we normalize that behavior. We almost expected. We anticipate that this is going to happen. And so that right there in itself has an effect on your mental health. If you believe that this is something that you should deal with, if I lived in Coral Gables, that wouldn't happen. If I lived in a more affluent community, that's not something that I have an expectation of happening. But we have been conditioned to expect that this will happen. I mean, we see things and we have been, like I said, from 1419, we
Yeah.
have we have had a series of traumatic experiences from our ancestors to now that have been consistent across the board. And this has an impact on us today. It has an impact on how we see the world, how we respond to things, how we are mistrustful of certain systems. And this is where I feel that my part is, okay, let's figure out how to solve these problems or at least minimize some of the things that are going on. But you can't discount the trauma. That gun being pulled on you at 8 years old, regardless of what another family member's done. How many people have been in the home and they've done a no-knock warrant? We've lost two people for that. And that doesn't happen in every community. It happens in very targeted in particular communities. And so that's why policies have to be changed. That's why attitudes and have to be changed. And that's why our experiences have to be acknowledged, respected, heard, so that people understand why we take this position, and we're not trying to take the position to be offensive, but we're taking the position because it's important to us, and we need you to understand this is what we've been dealing with for quite some time.
I love that aspect of it for the kids, that they get to unpack that trauma, because a lot of times, like, we just carry it and we don't really ever really get a chance to deal with it. You're doing the Lord's work, Ruben. I appreciate you. You on a mission. You're like a disciple out here trying to fix our mental health, one person, one baby, one adult, one man at a time. I appreciate that, and I've really been like trying to dig into like mental health and bringing that forward. I would love to have you come back on if there are like issues in pop culture or something going on even locally where you could break down the mental health of it all. Please, you are a friend of the show. Before I let you go, do you have anything coming up or any initiatives that you want everyone to know about, and then also to let people know how they could follow you and connect with you if they want to learn more about My Mental Health Miami or Teen Talks?
Right. So with Teen Talk, you can go to teentalkflorida.org. You'll see some of the videos and some of the events that we have coming up with the My Mental Health. You can go to our website. Not only do we have the survey, but we have a resource page. We also have videos, vignettes from the sessions that we've had that you can go on to see. I just want to encourage everyone to just make sure that you take care of yourself from a mental health perspective. Take care of yourself. Pay attention to what's going on with your youth from that perspective as well. Make sure that you're aware. We also have a Wellness Wednesdays on Facebook Live. Every Wednesday, you can go to COVID Mental Health and Wellness page, CMHWP, and you'll see conversations that we had, conversations with some great folks like Dr. Cheryl Holder, who's a great doctor here at VIU, with
Yeah.
Pastor Arthur Jackson, with school board member Dr. Steve Gallen III. So it's very informative conversation. So you can find that on our Facebook page at COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program. You can also find it, I believe, on our Instagram. You'll see some of those video vignettes, and also the websites, the different websites that I mentioned to you as well. So that's how you can find out what's going on in terms of our upcoming events and how you can keep in touch with what's going on with us. So Wellness Wednesdays, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Check us out. That's something that we have that's coming up. Teen Talk is about to ramp back up. School started again, so we have to wait till the kids get acclimated, and then we're gonna start back up with the Teen Talk program. And so you can make sure that you go to those different websites and get more information, if you will. There was one additional thing I wanted to say, uh, and I can't remember it right now.
Look, it's all good. When you think about it again, that could be another.
I know what it is.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Yeah. So you and your entertainment industry and dealing with entertainment. One of the things I want to say about when you talk about mental health and how we are affected of mental health, one of the things I want to say, we are, as a people, one of the most influential people, groups of people in the world. We influence culture globally, but we don't benefit from our influence. Everyone else benefits off of us. We've created words, language, swag, style, how you dress, all of that. And the folks who really maximize off of that don't look like us, right? Because they're already a part of the system and that sort of thing. So what happens is, again, that plays a part in affecting our mental health. And one of the things that happens when we feel that we've been used or misused or mistreated, that sort of thing, is we find outlets. And you'll see a lot of young folks and older folks, turning to certain vices to just escape from all of the bad feelings that they have. So those of you who have family members who are struggling with substance use or family members struggling with other vices, when you have people who are out there who feel that they have to present themselves in a certain way to gain respect, and they have to have, these images of them showing off their riches or what have you, that is a mental health thing. That is a mental health thing that we, as a part of this society, and again, from 14 to 19, have to deal with. And so that's one of the things I want to say to you, that this is something that affects us all from a global perspective. One of the most influential groups of people. I mean, we create a word like bling, and now that's a part of the lexicon. We create culture, even though we were stripped of our culture. We create culture, and people adopt the culture, and make it a part of their own. But we benefit the least out of all of these things that we've done. That definitely has a psychological impact on people. So I just wanted to say that. I thought it was important to share that.
No, that's deep. And that's definitely something that we all need to keep in mind, because I never even thought of it as something that could be a mental health or a effect on my mental health or all of our mental health as Black people, just knowing that part of like how we create culture and how we're not owners of it or controlling it. But we continue to create and they continue to take from us. I never even thought about like how that could be affecting us as a whole, as a people.
Yeah. It has a serious effect on us, and it goes into sports. It goes into all arenas, right? When you look at the great inventors like Garrett Morgan, there are people who've contributed so much to this community and to this country, but don't get the recognition that we deserve. So yes, these are things that really makes folks upset, angry, pissed off, and we have to find a way to channel that energy, redirect it, and take ownership. Gain our rightful position in terms of where we are, and acknowledge for ourselves the contributions that we've made, and understand our worth and our value. And I think that that's where we need to go. Don't be angry about it. Do something about it. Play a part in making sure that you can make a change in a positive way, and acknowledge and understand that you are valuable. You are of value. Even if someone else doesn't recognize it, you recognize it for yourself.
Man, that's a good parting word, Ruben. I really appreciate you dropping that knowledge and giving us the benediction to go on through our day to get a good positive word in. But no, that's real stuff that you're saying. I'm not gonna curse here with you because like you're like Amber, you're like uncle. So I'm not gonna say what I would say, but that's real talk, and I appreciate that. Ruben, you're always welcome here back on High Low News. Can We Talk podcast and web series anytime. You're a friend of the show. Thank you as always for supporting me, especially Black-owned media. I'm glad that you see the vision and understand the importance of that. So I just thank you so much, and I want to give you your roses and your flowers right now, and let you know how
Thank
much
you.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, but I appreciate you for what you're doing, which is a monumental task. I mean, a young woman like yourself taking on this media community, and you're coming in with some very creative and innovative ways of reaching this audience. And those of you who are listening or potential sponsors, I want to encourage you to make sure that you invest in South Florida's high-low news. Make sure we promote our own, and make sure we that we patronize our own. Janae, keep up the good work. I wish you all the best in all of your future endeavors.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Ruben. Look, this has been a great show, guys. Look, Ruben's information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. The Instagram, the websites, everything that you need to connect with to get your mental health together, to get your kids trusting the police, or you trusting the police, whatever is going on in your world. Everything that we discussed, we have all the information there at the bottom of the screen. You guys make sure that you go to those websites, you sign up, you take that survey too, so you can see where your mental health and your wellness is. And thank you again, Ruben, for all that you're doing in the community. You're definitely welcome back.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right.